start.
Get ready, please.
So they need to have those skills of moving the single, like you say, Mark, rather than moving the quad. Seeing Janssen, the Dutch, they're keeping her blades feathered very late, just squaring them late now.
Attention! Go!
Janssen just looking a little bit more twitchy in the boat there to me as she was waiting, and then again as she went off. Thiele slightly smaller, slightly more athletic, lighter, getting up and into her stride a little quicker, but a real interesting race we've got in front of us here. I think if anything, Thiele might have a small lead, but let's see if Janssen can get into a stride and use that length, use that power as they come up towards the top of the island.
I'm always amazed, like you watch people at Stars who just did there and not burying their blades. You know, they kind of have them hovering, and then someone says go, then they drop them and go. Should be buried, so you're ready to just press rather than actually make that upward movement to put the blade even further in.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, isn't it? I remember doing this exercise, just sitting up at front stops with my blade squared in the water. Doesn't feel very comfortable. I suggest an exercise everyone should practice and realise you're not actually going to fall in when you do it. So we have a look here, and Anne-Catherine Thiele on the top of the screen. She's moved out probably to a boat length there, made a really strong start, and want to see whether Inke Janssen from the Netherlands can settle into a pace that holds that gap. Thiele will want to break her now. She'll want to break her and get clear water, and Janssen's got to make sure that doesn't happen.
And that's the great thing about match racing or dual meet, you know, one-on-one. You know, the quicker you can be out of sight, out of mind, you can end the race as quickly as possible, but it's all about breaking contact, and it looks like already that Thiele may have been able to do that.
Well, I'm thinking Janssen might just have been able to stop the move, and I'm hoping she might be able to keep that clear water, try and keep in there as the crews are going to have to come down to their race pace at some stage, and whether Janssen's going to want to make this a long race, she's going to want to come back through the middle, or whether this is just going to be a move that Thiele will be able to just carry on going. In the single, like you say, Mark, you can make your own race plan up. You choose what you want to do. Thiele has clearly gone out strongly. She clearly wants to get control of the race. Janssen maybe wants to recognise that this could be a marathon, not a sprint, but she's in danger of getting a little bit left, and then Thiele will be able to control the course, control the race on top of her.
And that's the thing with the Henley course, you know, we've mentioned it so many times, being that bit longer and into the kind of flow that we have here. There's none actually this week because there's not been a lot of rain recently in the UK, so you know it's normally about 30 to 40 seconds longer than you'll find over a 2K. But the most important thing in this kind of dual race is not to lose contact, because if you have to start looking over, you can't see your competitor, and that may be an issue as we come to this next section.
That's right, it gets very lonely in a single, and this is the section of the race where it does get lonely. You come out past the barrier. I had a coach who once described this as the Badlands, this area where you get out in the middle of the course. There's no support on either side. You've had all that noise, you've had all that hubbub, and now you've got to just stay focused. You've got to motivate yourself through this middle half of the course, really, before you get to the enclosures at the other end and you get that lift from the crowd. So now we've got to see, is this rhythm that Inge Janssen from the Netherlands on the left of our picture has set up, is she going to be able to row long, strong, powerful strokes and come back on Anne-Catherine Thiele, or has Thiele done enough? Thiele just looks so much lighter and quicker in the boat.
She just looks more dynamic.
Yeah, so she's weighing in about 11 stone. Janssen weighing at 12 stone in our programme. So yeah, a little bit more dynamism, a little bit more power, quicker, higher stroke rate.
And you can see from the body movement as well, the way that she kind of presses her legs, and then the kind of hip extension when she really kind of throws her back. You know, it's really impressive how dynamic that movement is through the hips.
Let's have a look at that. Tell me more about that, Mark, when those hips are moving.
Yeah, so she's placing the blade in here, and then she drives, and then you really see the hips open, and she's really able to explode in that second part of the stroke and really open it up.
Yeah, I find it interesting, both these two break their arms a little bit earlier than I think classic coaching might suggest, but by breaking those arms and getting the blades locked, she uses her arms almost to lock the blade, and then she can use that strong leg drive and hip extension and back extension you're talking about.
And the thing is, you know, the single scull, you know, that there is so many different styles. You know, we want the perfect movement. Everybody talks about the perfect rowing stroke, but in this particular boat class, everybody can have their own style to move it. But it's when you go into the crew boats, obviously everybody has to do the same thing. So the single is unique in its own right, that you can have so many different styles.
That's right, and I suppose she's using those small muscle groups in her arms to get the blade locked, and then she seems to be still able to use her legs and back against it. When we have a look at Janssen, I worry that you wouldn't really lift weights the way she does. You don't breaking your arm that much early and then trying to lift against it. You just couldn't hold the weight. Thiele seems to get away with it with this little lock in the arms, little catch there, and it goes there just when she locks it in, and then she opens and presses against it. But she's not wasting any of her legs. She's using her arms to lock the blade.
You just see that hip movement, that second part there.
It's fantastic compression she gets, isn't it? She really does close that gap between her body, her legs, her shins totally vertical.
Well, she's maximising her length, you know, her height really as much as she can there by being, and you can just see the difference in the arms. It's just really interesting with the different styles you get to see.
Yeah, the Janssen not quite as compact, not quite as powerful. She's got that longer back, potentially a rangier stroke, but I'm not sure she's getting quite the same compression and able to row an effective length in the water. It's the effective length in the water. So let's have a look at what we see here.
It just looks really tentative. That's a way of saying it. Like the hip movement there is nothing like we're seeing on the opposite station.
I'm feeling awful about that, Janssen, that we're qualifying, challenging your technique here, but
nobody's perfect. You know, everybody looks for improvement, and you know, every race you go to, you're trying to work on different things because it's a stepping stone to, you know, she wants to win at Henley, I'm sure this year, maybe next year, but going on to other events that she's trying to kind of establish herself as, you know, one of the top ladies in this particular boat class.
Well, you can see the acceleration from Thiele that's kept her blades moving forwards, but as we come here towards the enclosures, Inge Janssen, I think, has got herself back into the race, looking to get that overlap back, and let's see if she can put some pressure on into the enclosures.
And that's dangerous because every time you race one of the Dutch crews, you know they've got an incredible last 500 meters, so you don't want them being too close as you come into the enclosures.
We certainly do race some fantastic Dutch crews who are able to just get into that pace and then have this incredible sprint finish. Big question here, is Inge Janssen going to be able to find something? Can she up that stroke rate? Can she up that power and try to get this overlap back? It's close, and it looks like she's closing in on Thiele as we come towards the enclosures. Can she find that little bit more dynamism as she takes that look over her right shoulder and get into an overlap position and then see what the impact is then on Thiele?
Just that look, she gets a sense of where she are, and the more she feels she's gaining and coming back into the race, the more confidence you grow, and that's when it becomes dangerous in that sprint.
And it's interesting to think about the impact of history now, the fact that Thiele has got the gold medal in Rio over Janssen in the quad sculls. And I read the quote yesterday from Inge Janssen where she said, "Tomorrow's opponent has always beat me. I know she has a fast start, and now she's going to try and start fast and see what can happen." Well, Inge Janssen, you need a fast finish now because it's not far to go. We're into the last 25 strokes or so in front of the enclosures. Janssen needs to do something very, very special now, and she's looking to see if she can find it.
And that's the uniqueness about the single. You know, the speed of a boat can change far quicker than a quad that they're used to racing in. So it'd be interesting over the last couple of minutes to see what happens here.
And we see Thiele there consistently churning out this strong rhythm she's got, consistently moving the boat effectively. She knows she's going to have a big race tomorrow. The winner of this will be up against Vicky Thornley. You'll have all the crowd support the Great Britain sculler. And try as she can, Inge Janssen isn't quite going to be able to make up this gap as they come into that finishing line here at Henley Royal Regatta. And Anna-Katrine Thiele has been able to hold that distance, hold that margin. It's come down to just a little bit of clear water. So confirmation of that win, the Princess Royal Challenge Cup for Thiele over Janssen from the Netherlands.